Welcome to Close Racing. Welcome to a platform for aspiring drivers. Welcome to the best in Formula F racing. Welcome to F1600 in Focus. Featuring the F1600 Formula F Championship Series, the Pacific F1600 Championship Series, and the SCCA US Majors Tour, supported by Honda Performance Development. And welcome to episode 3 of F1600 in Focus. I'm Jason Dukes, and once again I have the pleasure of being joined by Formula F insider Monty Matheson. Monty, what should we expect today?
Jason, we've got 20 minutes, 8 races, the end of the season from the East Coast, and some great action from the West Coast. The East Coast, the summer swing, 6 races in 5 weeks, started at Mid-Ohio with, importantly, this man, Tristan Vautier, on the scene. Very competitive IndyCar rookie with Quantum here for track time at Mid-Ohio. Put the car on the pole and was fast. Let's talk to him.
Well, I think it's very competitive. First, I think it's good to drive cars with no downforce because it really teaches you a lot of car control. I think the teams are very competitive here. You have teams who are successful in the USF 2000 like the Capes, Brian Hurd Autosport Racing here, or Cannon Racing is very performant as well, and all the teams seem to be very close to each other. All the cars are very close, even though there's different chassis brands. Everybody ends up very close to each other, so I think that's really good, and there's a lot of drafting, so it teaches drivers a lot about passing. The races are amazing to watch.
Round 7 of the F1600 Championship Series, there were tricky conditions. You saw Vautier go up in China Beach. He recovered for 6th place. Ahead of him was Paul Oshbach, showing us how bad the conditions were. And Jake Edson won in the rain, once again setting us up for a great championship battle.
This would set up a 3-car, 3-driver fight for the championship, Jason, starting with, of course, Jake Edson now at the commanding points lead on 4 straight wins, 3 straight wins in the rain. Pretty impressive. A lot of speed in the Spectrum Honda for the Capes. Then, of course, we have Adrian Starantino sitting second in the points in the Miguel Honda, the Brian Herta Autosport coming off 2 wins at VIR and quite a few podiums. And then third in the points and still with a fighting chance, Aaron Telitz off the Road Atlanta victory and a lot of speed for Wisco Miguel Honda.
And now a day later, we have round 8 of the F1600 Championship Series. We have Tristan Vautier on pole, but he didn't stay up front for long. As you see, he got smashed there, hit. Which allowed Starantino, Edson, and Telitz to move on out and fight for the championship battle on their own. But Monty, as you can see, finally some dry weather.
Vautier very fast in the dry too, was on pole for this race by a huge margin, but unfortunately got pushed out of the way. He would recover, but eventually end up off track with damage.
So here's the battle for 4th. As we said, Starantino, Edson, and Telitz are way ahead, but here's the battle for 4th.
Yeah, on board with Ayla Agrin in the Miguel Honda for the Brian Herta Autosport team. You can see Steve Bamford there to her right, Jim Goffrey ahead, Sam Chastain up there, Paul Osbach up there as well. 5-car fight for 4th. Good racing in the middle of the field at Mid-Ohio.
We move up to the last lap. Here's the battle between Starantino and Telitz. Now they went ahead and got some distance ahead of Edson so that they can battle it out for the championship.
Edson in control of his own destiny. As long as he finishes 3rd in this race, he's probably okay points-wise, but up front is all about the points. You have Telitz, Wisco Racing, Miguel Honda, Starantino, Brian Herta Autosport, Miguel Honda. This is for the win. They cannot settle for 2nd. That's an 8 points difference, Jason.
And as you said, Edson, he's in 3rd place. He's doing what he needs to do, and these guys need the win.
They need the win, and they are driving on the edge. We're going to fast forward here to a couple corners and see what happens.
Yeah, both driving for the win, and it looks like someone has to do some type of dive bomb move. Oh, and here it comes.
Yeah, Telitz a little loose. Starantino went for it. You can see suspension there completely bent, but Starantino would recover and take the victory.
I played a smart race, and it came down to the last lap. I tried to get him on the straightaway and just unfortunately couldn't get him, so I tried to throw it in the carousel, and just a general racing incident. But, I'm happy at the end of the day to take the win.
Now looking at the results for the whole week and going back to round 7 first, you saw it here on F1600 in Focus. Jake Edson, complete domination in the rain ahead of Telitz, Starantino, Algren, and Vautier there recovering for an impressive 6th after being off in China Beach and actually getting out. Round 8 at Mid-Ohio, Starantino took the victory after that last lap incident. Edson nearly stole the win. He was 2nd by half a second. Bamford rounded off the podium. Osbach, Foster rounded off the top 5.
Round 9 of the F1600 Championship Series, 2 weeks later back at Mid-Ohio for another dry weather event. Now we go up to the start of the race where championship leader Jake Edson's on pole ahead of Starantino and Tellett, but there's another player up front there. Who's in that black car, Monty?
Black car is the number 0 Polestar entry, David Grant, coming over from F2000 to fill Luke Cooper's seat for the weekend. Super fast in the Van Diemen Ford and the 2012 Atlantic champion, constantly on the podium in F2000. He was quick, first start ever in an F1600 car.
We're about to go up to a really cool picture from Starantino's car. Here it is, really cool picture for Starantino, but here's where his race goes bad.
Oh, his race was already going away as Edson was off to a huge lead, and Starantino's day would end early with that incident.
So that's huge in our championship battles. Now we go back to Aaron Tellett, who's running in third place at this point. As you can see, Edson up front and Grant right behind him, but Tellett ends up having some trouble in this race also.
Tellett would challenge early. He needs the points, especially with Starantino out. This could be a huge opportunity for him, but the handling went away in the Miguel Honda from the Wisco camp. Not sure why, but he would fall back. He finished 5th.
So not sure that Edson realized that everything was falling apart behind him, but he did what he had to do, and he won the race with his brand new helmet.
Another win, cool helmet indeed. Win 5 on the season, he would dance to victory ahead of Grant and Alsbach there. Goffrey, Tellett completing the top 5, Agron, Bamford, Chastain, Rubenzer, McCusker would follow.
And so now we move on to Sunday for round 10 of the F1600 Championship Series.
4th race at Mid-Ohio for the year. Jake Edson immediately into the lead from pole at the drop of the green.
And we go on board with David Grant, who is a lot more racier today.
Yeah, Polestar making some changes on that car. David Grant, of course, another hour in the F1600 car in his debut Formula F weekend. He's got more confidence, more speed. He knows how the car works. And look at this, immediately looking for that lead.
Yeah, and so as you can see here, there's Edson, Grant, and Starantino right behind them. They're running away, and they're running away from this guy right here, Aaron Tellett, who unfortunately can see those 3 cars up front and watching his championship racing away.
Tellett's looking for a way by Bamford as this race unfolds. You see Paul Alsbach up there in 4th, another good day for him. But up front, at the top of your picture, those are the 3 leaders disappearing from Tellett, who needs to score points today.
Yeah, and talk about needing to score points. Here's him, a little desperation.
Well, this is bump drafting. This is Mid-Ohio. I'd call this part of the routine, not desperation. But look, again, looking for a way past in a 4th, but can't find a way by.
So we move on board now with Starantino, who's watching Grant and Edson battle for the lead, a lead that he needs to be up there battling for to get those points.
Starantino looked fast early, but couldn't quite hold 1st or 2nd. He would hang out in 3rd most of the race.
Here's another look at the battle for the lead between Edson and Grant.
And these cars, Jason, very, very different. Edson in a Spectrum Honda for Cape Motorsports, Grant in a Van Diemen Ford for Polestar. One similarity there are probably 2 of the best teams in the country. But we haven't seen this kind of speed out of a Van Diemen Ford in the F1600 series for some time.
Yep, and here's some picture of Edson taking back over the lead as they go back and forth.
They would fight as the race drew out. Starantino basically hanging out in 3rd, about a 2nd back, and now we jump on board Grant for the last lap.
Yep, and as you said, on board with Grant, and here he is going for the lead.
A lot of speed coming off that Van Diemen out of turn 1 at Mid-Ohio. He's looking for the lead on Edson.
And this is the last lap of a 2-race weekend, so these guys are both going for it.
They're going for it. At this point, too, Grant, this is his 1st and last week in an F1600 car for the year. He doesn't really need to worry about the championship. He's not in this for the points. He's here to win.
Right, which also makes it more complicated for Edson, who wants to win but doesn't want to do anything stupid to give up those points.
And here we go. Grant, again, good draft off Edson down the backstretch. As the last lap, probably last place to pass, and he's got the lead here for a 2nd, but Edson drives that Spectrum into the corner.
Yeah, drives it deep in there, which probably made Starantino happy because he's back, hoping that both of these guys get in trouble.
But that did not happen, and Edson here stretches the lead, and he would basically, at this point, just disappear over the last few corners, take yet another F1600 win, his 6th of the year.
Which helps his championship hopes.
Let's go through the results. Edson, another win, huge championship lead. Grant and Starantino on the podium. Tellett's down there in 6th, basically not in the picture anymore. Agron would be finished 7th. Bamford up in 5th, rounding out the top 5 for the Masters Classic victory. Interestingly, David Grant, fastest lap of the race for Polestar, so he's got to feel pretty good about that. But Jake Edson, Another win, another pole, more points, more dominance at Mid-Ohio. Let's talk to the winner.
Well, from the start all the way to the finish, it was a hard-fought battle between me and David Grant. I mean, the car did great, though. I mean, we were both drafting and passing quite a bit. I had to defend almost every time going into the keyhole and also a 7. But the Spectrum car was awesome. They held together great. And on the last lap, there were some pretty close calls, but altogether it was really good, clean racing.
And we move on to the final event of the 2013 F1600 Championship season, round 11 and 12 from Summit Point. Right now the championship battle is down to 2, Jake Edson and Adrian Starantino, but there's something else at stake, Monty.
Yeah, Team USA. Aaron Tellett's there on the pole, nominated along with Edson and Starantino and Joey Bickers from the West Coast. That's 4 out of the 6 nominees from F1600 in Focus. Very impressive. Also, you see the front row, Wisco Racing swept it, going with dry tires in a wet qualifying session.
So now we go on board with Chastain way back in the field, but you can see there's a crazy long straightaway here at Summit Point.
Yeah, Chastain actually ended up with a top 10 result from this race, so he was able to pick his way through the field as the green flag drops on the season finale weekend. Long front straight, a lot of drafting opportunities. And there's a short chute leading on to the front straight, so you're talking very long area for cars to pass each other. And up front here, whole field clean through turn 1, a lot different than the F2000 race where there were some issues.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the weekend. Everyone needs to try and make it through, not just for this week, but also for the race tomorrow. As we go on board with Aaron Tellett, and he's racing with Starantino, and they have a really close race. And you know what? These two need to be careful because they drove into each other in Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, well, probably no love lost here, but a lot of people watching. Next year's on the line. Where are they going to go in 2014? There you saw some contact between the two, so tough, close, and better racing at Summit Point.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely do not want to hit each other here. And we will be going on board now with Isla Agren a little bit further back in the field. And here she is here, and Isla had a lot going on this weekend.
Big weekend for Isla. She sat on pole at VIR, has been competitive all weekend. As you see here, she's battling with Bamford and Alsbach for top 5. She actually had a TV crew with her for the whole weekend. TV2 from Norway as a host broadcaster. You can check out the segment they did, 5-minute segment on Norwegian TV. You go to TV2, that's number 2.no. and type in her name and it will come up. It's a very good segment they did on her.
And you talked about her racing with Steve Bamford in the Masters class. We don't get to talk about them too much.
We don't get to talk about them too much, but Bamford doing double duty, F2000 as well. He clinched the Masters class championship in F1600, so great weekend for him in the McGow.
And so just close racing all throughout the field.
This is what the F1600 series is about. No matter where you are in the field, there is competitive racing and people to race with.
So back up front between Tellett and Starantino. And this race means a little bit more for Tellett because it's his home race.
Home race for the Wisco team, actually. They're right down the road in Dulles, Virginia. They run an F2000 program. They've got Radicals. Tellett so far, he brought them their first pro win with the victory at Road Atlanta and now looking for another one.
And we see them racing really hard here on Saturday, but they also need to save tires for the next day.
And save the cars. I mean, this is a short turnaround for the crews. As for Jake Edson, he's sitting back about a second behind this. All he's got to do is bring that Spectrum home and he's champion.
So let's start talking about here, because this is going to be a really good race here in this track. How do you kind of set up to win?
This is how you set up to win, Jason. This is the last lap. It's going to be a close finish. You see Starantino diving the inside there, trying to block the ideal line. Tellett's got a drafter ready. He's going to pull out, but pull back in. Again, looking for a draft coming to the start-finish line.
What's the closest race you've ever seen at this track?
This would be it right here.
Right there.
Timing and scoring, .000. They both thought they won. Eyewitnesses gave Starantino the nod. What a finish.
What an absolute finish, but that also clinched the championship.
Jake Edson, 2013 F1600 Series champion. Well deserved. And there he is, clinched title with one race to go. 3 happy men on the podium.
So now we move on to round 12 of the F2000 champion, the F1600 championship. Sorry, the last race of the season. The championship's over, but we still have a battle for second place between Starantino and Tellett. But as you can see here, everybody's going for broke.
Yeah, you can just shovel the car in the trailer after this one. Isla Agren, second pole of the year after setting fast lap on Saturday, so good showing for her, especially in front of the TV cameras.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can see, like I said, everyone going for broke using that front straightaway to grab people on down. now we go on board with Agron a couple laps later, and she's still out front, and you can just
Look
see her
look how close it is. This is for the win, the season finale win. We got 4 cars broke away from the field. They were trading the lead back and forth the entire race.
Yeah, and everyone's going for broke here. Like you said, no need in leaving anything on the track now.
no, but you still got to pay the damage bill.
You still have to pay the damage bill, absolutely. The end of the season doesn't mean that those liability costs go away.
But Agron here shuffled back to 4th. She'd make her way back up, and here's our start-finish camera, and you can see some bump drafting. Unfortunately, didn't go well for everybody.
Yeah, it didn't go well for Jim Gopper right here. We saw bump drafting going good. There's bump drafting going bad.
But he would be just fine. The track would actually stay green. Quick cleanup at Summit Point.
Yeah, that's one of the good things about these cars. Like I said, everyone is fine. Safe cars, safe on the pocketbook.
Last lap, here we go. Jake Edson back to the lead. Isla Agron shuffled back to 4th. A little help from her teammate putting her in the grass, so she'd end up with a 4th place result.
Yep, and so now we go back up to Aaron Tellitz going for the win here, and Edson up front.
Yeah, Edson looking to close out the season with the win. Edson, Tellitz, and Starantino will get on a plane on Monday and go to the Team USA shootout, and here they are fighting for the win in the season finale.
Wow, do you think they sat closer on the plane, or are they closer right here on the racetrack?
I think they're closer on the racetrack, even if they were sitting next to each other on that plane.
And so here's something interesting about here. They have some lap traffic coming up. Tell us about that.
That is a lap car in front. That's Ed Kahlo and the Bowman Ford chassis as they make their way through the last couple corners at Summit Point. And this is almost a chess match. Where is that lap car going to be? Where do you want to be if you're one of the leaders? And there's a draft working here.
Yeah, like I actually just wrote it down. It looks like we're racing at Daytona or Talladega, and this is perfect right here. Check this out.
Back to Starantino's car, and the lap car, it does become a factor. Starantino's going to give Edson the bump for the win, and that was F1600 season finale at Summit Point. Jake Edson took the win, yet another one, Jason. That's 7 in 12 races and wins at every track except VIR on the schedule. So super lights out season for him and Cape Motorsports to repeat as F1600 champions with the Spectrum package. Tellitz and Starantino would round out the podium. Agron would finish 4th and set the fastest lap of the race for the 2nd day in a row. So she definitely picked up speed as the season came to a close in her Miguel for Brian Herta. Elsewhere, Bamford took yet another Masters Class win with a 5th place result and took the Masters Class championship. So Edson's your 2013 F1600 points champion with Cape Motorsports, Starantino, Tellitz, Agron, Bamford, the top 5 in the championship. Let's talk to the champion, Jake Edson.
It was great. I mean, the whole season, we were obviously aiming, for the title, but, the first 3 races, there was a different leader in points every race weekend. So it was a really good battle between Aaron and Adrian, and to come out on top, it feels great.
And now we go to the other side of America, out to Buttonwillow, California for the Pacific F1600 Series. Monty, can you bring us in focus on Pacific F1600?
Alex Keyes got a great start there in round 9, Jason. Looked like Colton Herta may have missed a shift. Joey Bickards in the red car up to an early lead. This series has developed into a Bickards versus Herta championship fight at this point.
Yep, and there's also something else at stake for Bickards.
Bickards, another Team USA nominee, as we see Herta here losing a lot of ground on the start. A lot of cars going by him, but this is the beauty of F1600. Cars can run close, there's no arrow, the chassis may be different, but everybody's basically in a similar car.
As you said, Herta missed a shift there on the start, but now we're going to go do some really good film of him making his way through the field.
Not the most patient in that corner, but did it cleanly and now already sets his sights on his teammate at PR1, Joey Bickards, for the race lead.
Yeah, and you're right. And these guys go back and forth for the rest of the race here. And when you talk about the teammates being at PR1 Motorsports, PR1 really established team. Tell us about that.
Very established team. They run an ALMS PC program. They run their F1600 program. They've got an F2000 program on the West Coast. Something, I think, their newest employee, it's been there like 7 years. I mean, they're a great outfit.
Right, so here at Buttonwillow, it's 100 degrees and these guys going back and forth, and this is only race 1. They have to do another one of these.
Definitely trying conditions at Buttonwillow. Colton Herta, of course, takes yet another win with a great move on Joey Bickards here to take the checkered flag at Buttonwillow.
All right, so now we move on to race 2, round 10 of the season, and we go on board with Keyes because he just always tends to have the best view of the start.
On the start, Keyes this time very fast again, looking at Joey Bickards for the lead. Keyes again, member of the Cool Helmet Club alongside Jake Edson.
Yeah, absolutely, Jake Edson. But yeah, my vote goes to Herta just because it's kind of nostalgic. I'm a little bit older than you. I remember his dad's helmet.
I do like the stars. You can see there, Joey Vickers went off the track, off the race line there on the start. Alex Keys takes the lead.
Yeah, and so that lines us up kind of like yesterday, where Herta had to move through the field. Now we have Vickers off, and he needs to go through the field.
Vickers needs to go through the field, of course. Same car as Herta, same chassis in McGall. We're still on board with Keys, though. He's in a Spectrum from the Cameron camp as we jump back on board with Vickers.
Yep, so let's go and focus with Vickers as he tries to make his way through the field.
And this time you see a quite similar story, but different driver with Vickers going through the field. He does it a little more patiently and surgically as compared to teammate Herta.
Now I'll tell you what, this piece of 1600 in focus could really be used as a resume highlight film for something that Vickers is working on himself.
How to pass a bunch of cars and get to the front of the field. I mean, this is pretty textbook. And Vickers, of course, Team USA nominee, and he actually won the scholarship along with Jake Edson from the East Coast. So good for them.
Yeah, and like you said, this can absolutely be used for his resume. So once again, goes back to Vickers and Herta going back and forth in the lead as they come up on some lap traffic.
That wasn't lap traffic. I think that was a third place Cameron car. And here is Alex Keys, who slipped back to second. Joey Vickers makes use of that and slides into P2.
Oh yeah, I guess I was already moving forward. He's still moving his way through the field. And now finally, here is the pass for the lead.
And we've been seeing this all season. Vickers versus Herta, Herta versus Vickers. They're always at the front on the West Coast.
Now, I'll tell you what, look at that sun in the face. Now, these guys run pretty early in the day, and a lot of people say that the series, I shouldn't say a lot of people say, but some people say that this...
It's the sun in your face. I mean, it's as terrible as it looks. You get a tinted visor on your helmet. It's another thing to have to deal with. It's 100 degrees. You got your sun in your face. There are other cars around you're trying to pass. That's racing at the entry level. You got to learn and move forward.
You absolutely have to learn. So this is absolutely preparing people for the next level.
And again, similar to the East Coast series, you got McGall's, you got Spectrums, you got two motor choices, and the Honda Fit, Ford Kent. They're on the same spec tire for Rougier. I still think it'd be cool if the East Coast series and West Coast series got together for some sort of runoff shootout style deal late October, early November 2014.
Yeah, that would be absolutely neat. Absolutely.
I hear there's someone working on it. And now here we go, Joey Vickers looking at Herta for another potential win for Vickers, but Herta not going to give it up easily.
Yeah, definitely not. And these guys have a lot to fight for. How many more rounds do they have after this?
They've got 2 more weekends, which you're going to see in episode 4 of F1600 in Focus, our championship submission. As now Vickers solidly in the lead. He'll win this race by 0.030 seconds. It's like a finish on the East Coast. Close racing in F1600 all over the country.
Yeah, so F1600 in Focus, the close finishes.
They go hand in hand. But here we go. Looking at the results from the whole weekend, Colton Herta took the first race ahead of Vickers and Evans. Herta, of course, fast lapped in that race. Alex Keys finished 4th ahead of Kirby and Stewart. Round 10, Vickers, as you just saw, took a win by a nose ahead of Herta, Keys, Kirby, Stewart, and Evans. This time, Vickers with the fast lap. What great action today on F1600 in Focus, where you saw the conclusion of the F1600 Championship Series in rounds 9 and 10 of the Pacific F1600 Series. We're glad that you were here with us. Also, thanks to Honda Performance Development for all the help that they have given us this year. Special acknowledgments to the champion, Jake Edson, and all of the teams, families, and participants that make Formula F1600 what it is. For Formula F Insider Monty Matheson, I'm Jason Dukes, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon for our championship edition.